Am I the butthole for telling my sister she can't barge into my apartment and dog nap my dog to meet random strangers? So this has happened twice. My sister has unlocked the door to my apartment and taken my dog to show him off to strangers. He's a corgi and he's the only corgi in our town, so people get weird about it. The first time, I was so shocked that I just watched her take my dog away. He came back 20 minutes later, but still. The second time, I was in the shower and didn't hear her come in, so obviously, when I came out of the shower and my dog was nowhere to be found, I freaked out. My sister left the door wide open and I thought he had gotten outside or someone had broken in and taken him. I called my mom, who then told me that my sister was at her place with her friend and my dog. I call my sister screaming through the phone to bring him back ASAP. I am recovering from a painful back injury and I have to limit my movements to a minimum. I am also in a lot of pain from walking in general, and even standing for a 20-minute shower. I had a chair but it broke and I'm waiting for the replacement. Is difficult, so I couldn't just go and get him myself. 6 hours and many irate calls later, she comes back with him. I go off on her, telling her that she can't just take my dog to meet strangers. My dog is friendly but still, and that she can't just barge into my apartment without knocking or letting me know ahead of time. She argues that because of my injury, it would be good for him to get outside and do something else. She completely ignored the fact that I have friends who help me walk him and that he does spend 3 out of 7 days a week at my mother to give him some space while I recover, but he's fine and at his happiest when he's with me, and that my injury does not excuse her from taking him from me without my knowledge and or my permission. I then tell her to hand over the keys, get the hell out and leave me alone. She leaves and I get texts from her, her friends and my parents saying that I was overreacting. I know my sister wouldn't do anything to hurt my dog, but she oversteps my boundaries, something she and my brother does all the time, but that's another story. Was I the butthole here? Update: I was not expecting so many answers and advices in the response to this post. My building manager has agreed to change it this morning and now, only I have the keys. I want to explain further a few things I've noticed I might not have explained properly. 1. My accident was truly a freak accident. It had rained the previous night and it was at the same time a cold night, so it made a thin layer of ice on the path I was walking with my dog, and I didn't realize it was slippery before it was too late. I landed awkwardly and hit the ground hard. I wasn't able to get back up, I couldn't move from the pain, and I was stuck until someone else came by, about 20 minutes later. I was taken to a hospital, but doctors didn't find anything wrong, other than some bruising. They don't know why I have issues walking, but I am improving day by day. I also forgot to mention that I live in Norway. 2. I have friends who help me take him for walks. Feeding him is difficult, but my friend helps me prepare feed so I can just pour it into the bowl without having to bend over. However, she cannot look after him outside of that. She has a job, I do too, but I work from home ATM. This is why he's at my mom's place sometimes. He's only a year old and still very much a puppy at heart, which in my condition can get frustrating. My mother has a large yard and 2 dogs of her own, so letting him stay with her, he gets an outlet, he gets to play with other dogs, and I get a break to take it easy. Also, my mother is on probation, so she can't go outside at certain times of the day, so she can't help me much. 3. As for the 6 hours that passed until I got him back, I wasn't worried about him being with my sister. She'd never hurt him, but it was the way that she took him that shook me to my core. 4. The lack of awareness of personal boundaries is something my sister and brother, that's another story, has struggled with for a long time, but talking to them about it has ended up in many fights, and I'm too tired to get into it with them anymore. 5. I don't know how to share a photo of my dog with you, so I uploaded it to my profile if you're interested in seeing him. His name is Ludviken. Thank you again for the rewards. I truly don't deserve them, but I hope this clears some things up, as I can't possibly answer the 600+ comments even if I tried. NTA. If your sister cannot respect your boundaries, change your locks. And get a doorbell camera. Sister's behavior is so over the line that she may try taking other things as well. If she persists/escalates, you may need the video. I'd also reconsider letting your mother take the dog at all if she won't back you up on reining in your sister. NTA. I pretty much don't have a choice while I'm recovering. It's not fair on him to be cooped up with me not being able to exercising him like I used to. And also, dogs can handle situations like that. When I still lived at home, we had a Rhodesian Ridgeback, a very active and intelligent breed, but it so happened that my dad was away on a work trip and my mom and me got extremely sick, like I'm not leaving that bed sick. It was just not possible for us to go for 2 or 3 hour walks like he was used to for almost 2 weeks, and yes, he didn't like it too much, but he got over it. I really understand your feeling of guilt, but I'm sure your dog will prefer being with you, even without a walk, than being dragged around town by someone he knows, but who isn't his human. You have friends that walk him after all, it's not like he doesn't get any exercise. I hope you get well soon. Rhodesian Ridgeback is a dragon, not a dog. I lived with a Rhodesian Ridgeback for a while, and I can confirm that they are in fact dragons. Corgis are also very much dragons, just with stumpy legs. The stumpy legs are however made for 3 to 5 hours running a day. Tell that to my Corgi who has to take a nap after playing ball in our apartment for 10 minutes. Everyone I've met, and yes it includes my own, never stops playing. If there exists a ball, it needs to be thrown, preferably forever. I can go on a ride with my horse, and my dog keeps up, for 2+ hours, and after a 15 minutes power nap she can do it all over again. I dog sit a Corgi when her owner goes out of town, and I think the only reason she doesn't want to play or run constantly is because she's getting older. I had 2 Corgis for many years. One was smart, lazy, and a complete mischievous brat, while her sister was a complete sweetheart who did not have 2 brain cells to rub together, and whose energy levels could best be described as toddler on a perpetual sugar high. Can confirm both were nonetheless dragons. Didn't have 2 brain cells to rub together is the best well-meaning insult that I've heard in my life. Sadly, it is apt. Sweet but dim Corgi lay down in the bathroom one afternoon and accidentally pushed the door halfway closed. Since it wasn't all the way open, she lay down on the floor again and howled in despair at being trapped. Smart troublemaker Corgi immediately got up, walked over to the door, stared through the gap at her sister in what I can only term contempt and disgust, lifted a paw, and whacked the door to push it open again. Sweet but dim walked slowly out of the bathroom, staring at her little sister in awe like, "Are you a wizard?" This is not even getting into the bizarre result when we took them to where they could herd sheep once. Corgis are actually cattle-herding dogs. Seems crazy, but they were bred to nip the heels of cows to get them moving. Yep, I know, smiley face, I have heard it a bit with mine, and you can see the natural instinct just kick in. They are amazing tiny dogs. I'm so happy my place has this huge yard my dogs can go nuts in. It's nice to just open your back door and let your dogs chase each other in a fenced-in yard until they need to come back in. It gets them even more tired out than a walk. That's basically our situation. We sit on an acre and have a fenced-in garden that takes up about 1/4 of it, so he gets lots of playtime with his buddies. He's the first one asleep and the last one awake. I was working in my brother's garage last summer when a very friendly Corgi came by to visit. It being a hot day, I gave him some water and he promptly decided to take a nap on a cool corner of the concrete. I had no idea where he'd come from and I left a couple of messages at the number on his collar to no avail. Eventually a woman drives slowly by, calling a name repeatedly, and I flag her down. She'd just had knee surgery and hadn't been able to take him for his usual walks to the park. So he decided to walk himself. She'd found his leash by the front door that he'd somehow managed to push open. I love that you actually knew which rein to use in that sentence. I think I love you. NTA. She probably told family and friends bullcrap story how she tried to help but you went off on her or something. Never give her your keys, and if family and friends keep pestering you, tell them the truth. She barges in, doesn't communicate about anything, leaves door wide open for anyone to just come in and take your stuff while you're literally in the shower. That's not normal. This also leaves original poster very vulnerable to a violent intruder. While original poster is already in pain. This is dangerously entitled behavior with no regard for ops safety. It would be wise for original poster to invest in some latch or locking mechanism that can be closed from inside the apartment. Taking back sister's key might not work if the mom has a key. NTA original poster edit, typo/spelling. And naked. Everyone is frightened of a guard Corgi. They're a genuine threat, burglars trip on them in the dark. More likely they just get barked at until they can't stand it anymore, or they get herded, nipped at and nosed, to the owners of the apartment/house. Source: I have an expensive potato who barks at the wind. I'd be insanely upset if someone came and borrowed my corgi without my permission. She loves everyone, but she's definitely my dog, and I'm her person. She has to lay on me or against me whenever possible. And let us not forget that these expensive potatoes have a very big bark. Mine almost blew my eardrums out last night. Yes. I tell her too loud very often. She protects me by jumping up into my lap, then barking at anything she doesn't like. Your potato is a perfect baby, send her my regards. God, it's so shrill. I had a shepherd mix that would bark at birds of prey, lots of hawks where we lived. Then he graduated to guarding us from airplanes. One night, he even barked at a satellite zooming across the sky. He had a 100% success rate for keeping his flock safe from sky menace. My rescue Rottweiler shepherd mix loved being outdoors, so we'd give him food and water accessibility outdoors. He'd been severely neglected, starved, and abused as pup and was very nervous if he didn't have food and water access at all times. The neighborhood starlings decided that they enjoyed his food, and they'd gang up on him, bully him, and steal his food. One day I guess he'd had enough. We think one pecked at him, and he growl-woofed once, and then ran full tilt at the flock of menacing sky rats, and leapt into the air himself, ears flapping in the wind. He swatted one out of the air with a paw, then swatted another one down with the other paw, and nipped at a third, taking some feathers with him, all in the same quick motion. I felt awful, but this had been a years in the making annoyance for him, and I couldn't blame him too hard. Incidentally, we didn't have a problem with starlings after that. His food dish got moved under shelter where the dingy birds couldn't find it, and we set up a bird feeder in the yard beyond his outdoor area's fence. He's been gone for years now. The starlings still avoid the dog area. R.I.P. Thor, scourge of the starlings, you were the goodest of good boys, even when you were naughty. That was an epic tale, and Thor certainly lived up to his namesake. Thank you for sharing. Expensive potatoes. What a great name. Mine would just bark their fool heads off, then one would run away while the other would roll over for petting if we had an intruder. Okay, I grew up with a basset hound and know firsthand how terrifying that is. But the guard corgi wasn't there. That leaves original poster completely vulnerable. You joke, but my corgi has the bark of a 100-pound German shepherd despite his 23-pound size. They have long bodies and big lungs. I can't tell you how many people that knock on my door get freaked out by his barking, then see him when I open it and ask where my other dog is because they're afraid. Further down I mentioned that I grew up with a basset hound. She was the same. Head and lungs of a Great Dane, legs of a turtle. Delivery people often seemed nervous when I got to the door and she was there barking. They have that big dog energy. Death from the ankles down. She probably told family and friends bullcrap story how she tried to help but you went off on her or something. This 100%, there is no way she admitted to leaving the door open and she probably spun the story to make herself look like the abused person. NTA leaving a door open like she did could also put you in grave danger. Also, who does that, seriously? My dog is cute but I can't imagine any of my sisters disappearing like that with her without telling me. Right, even without the dog napping, the sister is already overwhelmingly TA for the door thing alone. I would be livid and probably wouldn't talk to my sister for a very long time if she did something like this. My dogs are my kids to me. You wouldn't go to someone's house and kidnap their kids just because they're cute. Why do people somehow think it's okay for a dog? Exactly. Some curious person or opportunistic burglar could just wander in, and bam, here comes original poster hobbling out in a towel. It's a setup for a potentially violent encounter. Our neighbor once entered our yard without permission and took our new puppy over to his yard so he could play with her. He wasn't allowed over after that. NTA, and you might want to push back with your own narrative, really highlight the safety issues when your parents complain. I was in the shower and she left the door wide open. Anyone could have walked in while I was in the shower. I have a back injury and can barely walk and she leaves my door unlocked and forces me to painfully lock up after her. What if I don't even notice the next time she doesn't care enough to lock my door and I get robbed? Instead of my sister borrows my dog, my negligent sister risks my safety and health might work better as an argument with your parents? Just a thought. Not to mention, if the sister hadn't taken the dog to their mother's original poster wouldn't have known he was with the sister. She could have hurt her back again trying to look for him in the neighborhood, or she might have called the cops assuming he'd been dog-napped, which he actually had been. NTA. Or even just the stress of it could be bad for her back. We often hold stress in our bodies. The sister stole the dog because original poster gave no permission or had no knowledge of the dog being taken. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.